Today we're going to figure out if it's worth buying a cheap guitar. Now, before we do anything, I want you to just take a look at this guitar and try and have a guess how much you think it is. A ballpark in the hundreds. Have a little look. It's a Gretsch. Now, Gretches are obviously commonly known as good guitars. Now, secondly, let's give it a little... Before you actually price it in your head, let's listen to it for a second. You know what I mean? Listen to the it ring. Now, there's a few things you need to take into consideration. How much do you think it is now? Right, now that's in your head, let me talk about a few things and then we'll try and rate it one last time before we give the final price. A few things I think you should take into consideration when buying a cheap guitar. Now let's just set the figure at, let's say a cheap guitar is £500 or less, yeah? Let's just say that. That's about right. When you start entering, to be fair, that's probably still pretty low for a cheap guitar that is actually gonna be the bar is, can you play this live? Do you know what I mean? Can you actually do a gig with this guitar? I think, realistically, and I'm just a working class man, by the way. I can't afford these expensive guitars. You know, 700 quid. You know, I'm going to have to get a direct debit out on that. It's still pretty expensive, but in the grand scheme of things, for a guitar, it's actually not. So let's just set the bar around 500 to 600. Now, there's a few things you want to take into consideration. The volume knob. So, as you can hear, the guitar's not on. But you can hear that pretty much on 1 instantly. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I think that's one thing to take into consideration when you're buying a cheap guitar. Is it instantly... I think this is too quick to hit number 1, like... You can't do your volume swells like Knopfler would or someone, because it's not from 0 to 100 in the correct volume. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like it goes 30 to 100. It instantly turns on. That's one thing you look at when you're buying a guitar, because I like to do volume swells, but I can't get them exactly how I want them. Don't get me wrong though. It's still not bad. There's guitars that are worse, and I think this is 50-50. I can work with it. However, if I was going to do volume swells, I would be picking up my Stratocaster to do them. Secondly, the tuning. You can't, if you buy a cheap guitar, if it's just going to go out of tune, it's not worth buying. So you want to have a look at that as well. So when you're in the shop, you do want to do some pretty drastic things. Maybe you do want to pick the pleck up. And even though it's like, are you really going to do that live? Maybe not, but in your bedroom you might. You know what I mean? hear the tuning. It's kept it. And even the most expensive guitars, they're going to go out of tune if you start doing crazy things. So that has actually, that's done me proud there, to be fair. Now, again, when you hear the price of this, it's going to answer a lot of your questions. So yeah, check the volume knob. That's a bit too sudden for me. But tuning is way more of a bigger deal. Let's have it right. Half the time, you're not going to be doing volume swells. Your guitar's going to be on number 8. And when it's on 10, you're going to want to do those solos. So there are two things you want to take into consideration. The tuning, it's held it up. That's cool. If it isn't going to hold the tuning, it's not worth buying. But this is a cheap guitar, guys. So you have to... all these things you have to take into consideration. Yeah, number 3, your tone knob. And this, your pickups. Is there anything different between them? Let's just crank everything. Middle. Instantly warmer. It takes off that treble. Now let's play it on the neck pickup. So there is a difference there. It's not crazy difference, to be fair. That middle pickup's a bit too like the neck pickup. However, again, it's what you're after. If I just want the treble, then it depends. Would I get a Gretsch for that, or am I going to get a cheap sort of Stratocaster? But realistically, if you haven't got money, you want it to be able to do everything. I can only afford one guitar. I want it to round up and be able to hit everything I want to use. If I want it warm, that sounds nice and warm. If I want it warm, guys, I'm getting it. I don't know what you can hear, but I'm getting it. If I want some of that treble... I'm getting it, and I'm using my fingers as well, so it's instantly dampening the tone. I could turn the treble up on the amp as well. Always remember that. My settings, I don't have the treble that high because it's not the kind of tone I like, but listen, that's doing it for me. But again, these are the kind of things to take into consideration. Is it worth buying a cheap guitar? It's never going to be, the clarities aren't going to be as different as it would be on an expensive guitar. If you pick up an expensive guitar and you hit that, the clarity is going to be nice and warm. And then when you hit that, it's going to be very bitey and trebly. That's what happens when you get more expensive. The more it picks up on those tones. And by the way, guys, this is all just... I ain't no king of anything. I ain't no professional. This is just my personal opinion. So you can tell me to shut up. I'm just giving you my opinion. A fourth one, what I wrote down is... What does that say? Yeah. If I was going to get a cheap guitar, I wouldn't get a cheap guitar that's... no one knows about. You know what I mean? If you're going to get a cheap guitar and you can get your hands on a Gretsch, or, even like Tanglewood or something like that, something that you know about, it's worth doing. If it's completely unknown, it's probably going to be naff, and the sound is going to be naff. I think if you're going to try and get one, at least get one that... And I'm not one of these guys who's like, oh, it's got to be branded, bruh. But it probably is worth looking at the brand, because, you know, at the end of the day, they're companies for a reason. They produce the better things. Now, the last and final thing I will say with a cheap guitar's worth buying is, it's definitely worth go on Facebook Market or go on Amazon, no, not Amazon, on eBay and look for a guitar that was expensive. It was £1,000 and is now going for 500 quid. That's your better option. You know what I mean? That's the better option, which I would do. But a lot of people are like, no, I want it brand new. I think if it's a guitar, it doesn't matter if it's brand new. You know what I mean? The age like wine. Go and get one that cost £1,000 brand new and is now someone selling it for 400 quid on eBay. You're getting a better guitar at the end of the day. But the action as well. Look at the action. These are things you can pick up on. Like the action between the strings and the neck. If it's high, you know it's just some cheap guitar. But if they've put the effort into getting that right, you know, majority of the time, it's going to be playable. It's going to be good. Now, for the final conclusion of this, I asked you at the beginning, how much do you think this is? And I hope you haven't searched it up. I want you to really... And by the way, guys, this is put together nice. It looks beautiful. Let's have it right. It looks really nice. It looks classy. If that's on your chest and you're playing that. You can get the warm tones. You can get the treble. It stays in tune. The action's great for if you're just learning. It's got 2 knobs, so it's nice and simple. That's just your tone knob. That's your volume knob. A lot of your tone comes from your volume anyway, so you're fine. It's got everything you need, this. I like this guitar. Guess how much it was? Brand new from the shop. £310. It's light. On a level, guys. If you're asking me, is it worth buying a cheap guitar? Yes. Yes. And I'll be ultimately honest, I don't even own an expensive guitar. Not because it's out of choice. Just because, like I said earlier in the video, I'm just your average working man. But, you know, I've got one guitar it was worth like 1,300, I think, as the Taylor I've got, because I needed an acoustic that actually sounded good so I could record my music. But my electrics, the Stratocaster, 700, so it's a bit more expensive. But this, guys, will do everything I need anyway if I wanted to do a gig. And I didn't want me, you know, if this went missing somehow, someone robbed it, I wouldn't be that bothered. I would be bothered, but I wouldn't be that bothered. And if it broke or something crazy happened, I'd be fine. I'll go and get the exact same one. It's £310. Is it worth buying a guitar that is cheap? Yes. That's my conclusion. But just take in consideration the things I've noted down for you. Check the strings aren't high off the neck. Come down. Usually it's not going to be high anyway around this area. But when you start hitting the 12th fret, it can start to get silly. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the knob of the volume. Keep an eye on the tuning. Do some drastic stuff. Still in tune? Come on. 310 quid. Gretsch. Shout out Gretsch. And by the way, guys, this ain't no ad. I think we all know I'm not getting paid to say that. I've only got 1,000 subs. Like, this ain't no advertisement. But it's worth buying one of these if you're looking for a cheap guitar. Absolutely blinding. And that is all I have to say. I hope you like this video, guys. Subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts. What price did you think I was going to say on this? And yeah, most importantly, subscribe, guys, because I've got plenty more content where this came from. Until next time, peace!